Jade's debut album, That Showbiz Baby, is finally out. Little Mix went on hiatus nearly 3 years ago, and since then, Jade has carved out a name for herself as one of pop's most interesting voices. This is also the first solo album by a Little Mix member. You guys know the drill. I will discuss the era so far, give my honest thoughts on the record before going track by track and assigning a final score. So here's just a quick recap on Jade. Jade Thirlwall got her start on The X Factor back in 2011, where she was placed into Little Mix by the judges. Little Mix went on to win the entire series, becoming one of the most successful UK girl groups of all time. Little Mix has sold millions of records. They've hit platinum on all 6 of their records in the UK, and they have hit the top spot in their country 5 times. They're also considered one of the greatest girl groups of all time. They're beloved by the queer community, but the band had announced a hiatus after the Confetti Tour 3 years ago so that each of the girls, Perry, Leanne, and Jade, could try their hands at solo careers. Jade ended up at RCA Records, signing a deal with them in March 2022, and she began work on her debut album. People were excited about the recording of the album. She was spotted working with Jax Jones, Lost Boy, and her boyfriend of 5 years, Jordan Stevens of Bristle Kicks. A staple producer of the final record ended up being Mike Sabbath, who she worked with during her time in Little Mix. Jade released her first lead solo single, Angel of My Dreams, in July last year. It hit the top 10 in her country. The track touches on her relationship with the music industry, sampling the 1967 Eurovision-winning hit Puppet on a String. It was critically acclaimed, and a lot of you guys actually pointed that song out to me in the comments, so I checked her out. The music video, I think, is a brilliant homage to Britney Spears' Lucky, as well as some movies like Black Swan 2010, and it's also a pretty good recap of her story so far as an artist. Jade would follow that up with a drip of promo singles like Midnight Cowboy and It Girl, and some proper singles like Fantasy, The Infectious Fuck You For Now, and Plastic Box. All of these tracks would chart. On top of that, she collaborated recently on a remix of Kesha's Boy Crazy on the deluxe version of Period. And she was also named the Best British Pop Act at the Brits Awards this year, which was a deserved win. One thing I really have to admire about her is her principles. She made headlines earlier this year for a Glastonbury performance of Fuck You For Now, where she called out Reform UK, transphobia, genocide, and arms selling. In another performance at Mighty Hoopla, she actually led a chant against J.K. Rowling, condemning her transphobic views. No one really expects pop stars to talk about the issues, but you can tell that she actually really cares and uses her platform and means it. That's just really refreshing to me. The album dropped on September 12th worldwide to critical acclaim, but what did I think? So here are my general thoughts. No hyperbole here, but this might actually be my favorite debut album this year, which is pretty wild considering that Addison Rae also dropped this year. That Showbiz Baby is an eclectic and purposefully messy record that really does show her range as an artist. I think it's very bold and experimental for much of its duration. There's some really big swings here, just not at the world, but also sonically. Not all of these swings land, but the effort has weight. Thematically, this is a very self-aware, personal record about finding her freedom as an artist, but also as a human being. She's very candid in a way that's distinctly British. Jade really embodies and owns being a pop diva on this. I feel like her voice is almost too powerful for a few of the tracks, especially towards the end of the record, which I did not love as much as the first half. I was impressed by much of the production, but the lyricism was what really impressed me quite a bit. It's very conversational, and it's also confrontational. Jade's tracks tackle some pretty relatable situations. I found myself relating to Plastic Box, which was about her confronting the reality that her boyfriend has been with other people before her. One track, Natural at Disaster, takes a very sharp but classy swipe, throwing shade at her former shade-throwing bandmate, Jessie Nelson. Unconditional manages to make a banger out of paying tribute to her mother, who suffers from chronic illness like lupus. It's really her candidness and charm that comes out through these unfiltered but very catchy observations and confessions. It's like pretty much really well done pop girl fundamentals, but I never questioned the authenticity of her. Also very noteworthy is her use of genres. I think that she borrows from different sounds to really use them like swatches brushes like she's painting her songs with them. Jumping from electroclash to disco to R&B, the real triumph here is her range. You can tell that she draws from a lot of other inspirations, particularly Beyonce and Robin. But you also get splashes of Carly Rae Jepsen's airiness on Self-Saboteur, some hints of early Gaga on Fuck You For Now, and some Britney on It Girl. However, my current highlights right now are Lip Service, Plastic Box, Glitch, and Silent Disco. The visuals are so distinct for this album, you can really tell that she has a vision. Nothing feels half-assed at all. For some fans, this has been something that has been in the making for a decade, and it shows. I had no skips, even tracks that I did not really get the first time had some elements to them that really worked. However, my main disappointment is the rollout of the record. Anyone who's been following her so far would have heard half of the album before its release, which takes away some of the surprises. And I do think that's because RCA is just a terrible label. Likewise, I'm kind of shocked that the US hasn't caught on to her yet. I feel like they will soon if she elects to do a run as an opener for a major star like Ariana Grande, whose tour was a bloodbath to get tickets to. Still, that's Showbiz, baby. It manages to really make a meal out of its runtime, and I do think that Jade is on the precipice of breaking out even further than she already has. So now we're at the track by track. Angel of My Dreams in retrospect was a perfect lead single, and it's also a really good opening track. I think the sample of Puppet on a String, it's a very clever allusion to her role in the industry. It's just really funny seeing her shade the hell out of Simon Cowell on this. The transition to the more electronic elements reflects her evolution and the anxiety that she feels to make her dreams work, and this chorus really has an operatic quality. It's kind of tragic, but the closing line reflects that music is still her love. It Girl's intro sets up the title. I love the fake out into the more trippy dance talk rap verses. The pre-chorus really makes you think that this is one thing, and then the chorus has this killer commander vibe. Circuit and Lost Boy do a great job on the production. I think it feels retro in the sense that it feels like a long-lost recession pop banger. The track is about reclaiming her power while acknowledging that she's the it girl of the moment. Simon Cowell continues to get strays when she says it's a no for me. That's something that he says quite a bit on his reality shows. Fuck You For Now is my favorite single. It has such a classic pop structure to it where lyrically it feels a bit dense, but then the maximalist pop sound really carries it to the finish line. She builds up a pretty strong case about why she's mad, even though she knows that the argument she's having with her loved one is small and stupid. She knows that they'll be fine, so that's why the for now applies. This is a co-write with fellow British pop star Ray. You can hear traces of that influence, particularly in the melodies. Plastic Box is another personal favorite of mine. It has a very subtle production to it that really hooks you in. It's a track about vulnerability and trying to love someone but fearing that they've already loved someone else more than they can love you. I really do like the verses. They feel very confessional, they feel personal. The pre-chorus to chorus transition is very smooth and effortless. It almost reminds me quite a bit of Robin's work on Body Talk. It is also very reminiscent of Ariana Grande's We Can't Be Friends sonically, but it is pop perfection. Midnight Cowboy is her diva moment. It's an absolute gag with the rattling bass and the unabashed sex appeal. I do think that this would be a great B-side on Renaissance. The wordplay on this is just so much fun. Never find a lass who, just so fun. The barrel of his gun line. The chorus is bubbly against the bass, so the contrast is pretty good. I think this one would really work on some good speakers. It doesn't really feel like a headphones listen to me. Fantasy is just euphoria. I think it is a dance floor classic in the making. The whole time I was just really enraptured by it. It's funk and disco turned up to the max. The video for it shows her evoking Diana Ross, which I think is a really good comparison. The lyrics are uninhibited. They really capture the title so well. I got pieces of Kylie and Mariah in there, and once she goes into those raw vocals, especially towards the end, I was ascending. I do think that Sabbath's production on here was perfect. Unconditional is a track about her mother's struggles against lupus. I think the production is just very unexpected. You get these sharp moments in the chorus that really capture the helplessness that she feels. The lyrics are very sparse, but they pack a punch. If Only My Love Could Be Your Medication is it's a very simple, intuitive line, but hearing it in a danceable track that channels grief and concern and anxiety in such a unique way is just really delightful. Self-Saboteur is an absolute banger. I love this track. I do think that this is the one that I would playlist first and foremost. It just has such a playful delivery. I love the stuttery, airy singing on the chorus. Jade's mastery over her vocals on the bridge had me screaming. This track is about her insecurities in a relationship, feeling unworthy of the love, and having a partner who kind of just meets her halfway and more. The chorus and that anxious, high delivery really does give the song a distinctive vibe to it. The production is done by Goldfingers and Starsmith. The latter worked on some very early Ellie Goulding stuff, the Lights era, which explains why the song really floats. Lip Service was an immediate smash for me. The transition to this track is already flawless. The hook immediately gets you. The production is simple. It has a very intimate vibe, but it remains upbeat. But I do think it's a bit short. Still, it manages to really pack everything in, even having a short little bridge to tee up the final chorus. I really love the verses. They really create the story about her trying to capture her paramour's attention before the innuendo-laced chatty chorus comes in. She really flows with the instrumental on here, and I do think that's her strength when she hits that. Headache is a jarring switch up after the last two tracks. I think the instrumental has this really cool wind up synth to it. The drums keep you on your toes. There's switch up moments on the track. She uses the production to kind of evoke having a headache and the confusion of that. The chorus reminds me a little bit of No Doubt in its delivery, but with her personality, and I do like that the bridge lets her vocally soar. Natural at Disaster is a very classy but cutting diss track that reads her former bandmate Jessie Nelson to filth. This track has a really cool mid-tempo production that lets you zero in on the lyrics. Much of the ornamentation is actually her vocal ad-libs. I was getting a little bit of a gospel vibe in here. The first verse is just brutal. I'm a moth to toxicity, your ignorance kinda scares me. The chorus is very clever, you were all snakes, no ladders. Very good visual metaphor. The bridge is a pretty cathartic moment where she layers in her ad-libs with her admission that she gave this person way too much leeway. Glitch is another highlight of mine. It has a really good production via Circuit and Inverness. Jade really rides on the beat effortlessly, evoking the title with the post-chorus. I love that effect where her voice cuts in and out. It's really cool. The verses have a cool cadence to them where she sounds like she's reading lines of code quick and fast, and then we get that pre-chorus that sets up the glitches later on. It's one of my favorite tracks because of the meta playfulness and its clever construction. Before You Break My Heart samples the Supreme Stop in the Name of Love to brilliant effect. For those of you who've followed my channel, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of samples, but the way that Jade interprets the song, it feels like a natural evolution of the original. I think that she really honors that intention of the song, but she also reinvents it. Sabbath's production has a really nice retro-futuristic funky feel to it that elevates the music. Some may find it repetitive, especially towards the end, but I do know that the production plays with the vocals and the melodies to kind of keep you interested. It knows that it's an earworm, and it really plays to that strength. The album closer is Silent Disco. I think that it's brilliant. It centers around her voice. It's another Starsmith production that keeps her at the center and then blossoms on that post-chorus. Her vocals are immaculate on those oohs. The track is a very romantic ode to a romance that feels like a silent disco party to her and her partner. It may look odd to others who can't really hear the music, but it's this private thing that's just for them. The sentiment is just so sweet. Towards the end, you can just hear the smile that she has as she's singing. I've always believed that you can hear when an artist is having the time of their life in the studio recording a track, and this is one of those moments. Overall, I don't think Jade misses at all. That Showbiz Baby is actually up there for me on pop releases for the last few years. I think it's a no-skips debut for a diva in the making. I am happy to give it a 9.2 out of 10 and a go listen now. The summer may have tanked, but the fall is already bringing some heavy hitters. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to this really quick Jade review. I wasn't sure that I would have enough time to review this album, but once I listened to it, I was like, guys, I have to share my thoughts on this. So let me know below in the comments what your favorite tracks were. Let me know what your favorite music video was, and let me know what you love about Jade. A quick shout out to my members. Thank you so much for taking that extra step and joining my channel. A shout out to my subscribers. I love you guys. I make my videos for you guys, and I will continue to make videos for you. I can't wait to review Doja Cat's album. I think I'm gonna be able to review Zara Larson's Midnight Sun. I can't wait to see her live later at the end of the month. You guys know I'm gonna cover Taylor, so stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I hope to see you next video.